Welcome dear students. Today we are going to learn the third lesson of history, India's internal challenges. This lesson is about some internal challenges like the separatist movements, that is, some states did not want to be a part of Republic India. They wanted to be an independent country. Then we have issues of Northeast India. Now we have 8 states in the Northeast. They have their own culture, ethnicity, and also certain issues that they faced. That's why they demanded for being an independent nation. We will see to what extent Indian government was successful in resolving their issues. Then we have Naxalism, which cropped up from the village Naxalbari in West Bengal, where the Naxalite peasant revolt took place in 1967, and communalism, that is division of the society on the basis of religion, and also regionalism, which is a strong attachment of one's own region. So these are the internal problems faced by India. We will see the efforts of the Indian government to resolve these issues. So let's begin with the lesson. The unrest in Punjab. Akali Dal was a major political party in Punjab. Even today, Shiromani Akali Dal is the major political party there. In 1973, the Akali Dal passed the Anandpur Sahib resolution. The following demands were made. First, Chandigarh should be made a part of Punjab. Now you must be knowing that Chandigarh is a union territory. Punjab and Haryana were one state. In 1966, Punjab and Haryana were divided on the basis of Haryana, that is Hindi speaking area, and Punjab with Punjabi speaking area. Now Chandigarh was a joint capital of Punjab and Haryana. Since Chandigarh is a union territory, it has a control of central government. So the people of Punjab were demanding that Chandigarh should be made a part of Punjab, thereby limiting the central government's role. The second demand was that the Punjabi speaking parts should be included in Punjab. The third demand was that the Indian Army should recruit more people from Punjab, and more autonomy should be given to the state of Punjab, that is, more decision-making power should be given to Punjab state government. Now, in 1977, Akali Dal came into power. While making government, they asked for two more demands. Now, Punjab is a land of 5 rivers like the Beas, Chenab, Jhelum, Ravi and Satluj. It flows ahead to Pakistan, so there was a demand for more share of these waters. Then they demanded for holy city status for Amritsar. Now Amritsar is the largest and the most important city in Punjab. It is the site of 6 principal places of worship like the Harmandir Sahib or Golden Temple. Very few places have got the status of holy city like Ayodhya, Mathura, Kashi, etc. So Akali Dal demanded for holy city status for Amritsar. In 1980, the movement of independent Khalistan took root in Punjab. Now Khalistan movement aimed to create a separate homeland for Sikhs called Khalistan. There were two leaders here. Sant Harcharan Singh Longowal, who was the leader of Akali Dal. He would direct peaceful protests and activities from the Golden Temple. On the other hand was Jarnail Singh Bhindranwale, who was a militant. Even he demanded for Khalistan. During that time, Lala Jagat Narayan was a leader of the Congress party and owner of Hindu Samachar newspaper group and a prominent critic of Bhindranwale. In 1981, when Lala Jagat Narayan was murdered, Bhindranwale was arrested for his alleged role in Narayan's death. Riots broke out in Punjab after his arrest. There was a law and order situation here. Police or the law failed to save many innocent lives. Hence, President's rule was imposed in Punjab. Now, Bhindranwale was released in October by the Punjab government as no evidence was found against him. Akal Takht is one of the 5 Takhts, that is, seats of power of the Sikhs. It is located in Harmandir Sahib, a golden temple in Amritsar. So Bhindranwale went to stay in Akal Takht after his release. His militant followers captured the golden temple and built a barricade of sandbags over there. No Sikh in history has ever sullied the Golden Temple complex by spilling blood in its sacred presence before Jarnail Singh Bhindranwale turned the Akal Takht and the Gurudwara into a place of torture or murder, and this greatly disturbed the peace in Punjab. It was a major challenge to Indian democracy. Let us see how Indian government tackled this situation. Operation Blue Star. Now, Operation Blue Star was the code name of the army operation. Indian Army entrusted the task of getting the terrorists out of the Golden Temple to General Kuldeep Singh Brar, who was a Sikh himself. This operation lasted for 3 days. It started on 3rd June 1984 to 6th June. In this period, using the public address system, the army repeatedly demanded the militants to surrender, asking them to at least allow pilgrims to leave the temple premises before commencing the battle. Since nothing happened, the army, equipped with tanks and heavy artillery, had grossly underestimated the firepower possessed by the militants, who attacked with anti-tank and machine gun fire from the heavily fortified Akal Takht, and who possessed rocket-propelled grenade launchers with armor-piercing capabilities. After a 24-hour shootout, the army finally took control of the temple complex. Bhindranwale and other terrorists were killed in this operation, while many of his followers managed to escape. This event resulted in the good number of militant and civilian casualties. Nonetheless, the operation did not crush Khalistani militancy as it continued. Operation Black Thunder was conducted in 1986 against the terrorists in the Golden Temple using Black Cat commandos of the National Security Guards. About 300 National Security Guards commandos stormed the Golden Temple, the holiest shrine of the Sikhs, along with 700 Border Security Force troops, and captured about 200 Sikh militants. While Operation Blue Star was considered poorly executed because of the loss of civilian lives and damage done to both the Golden Temple and Sikh relations with the government, Operation Black Thunder was far more successful, with the blockade tactics paying dividends, and has been credited with breaking the back of the Sikh separatist movement. Issues concerning Northeast India. Northeast India consists of 8 states. Now, which are they? Assam, Arunachal Pradesh, Manipur, Meghalaya, Mizoram, Nagaland, Sikkim and Tripura, previously known as the Seven Sisters, with the addition of Sikkim in 1975. These states share international borders with Nepal, China, Bhutan, Myanmar, and Bangladesh. These states differ from each other with respect to ethnicity, language, ancestry, history, society culture, race, etc. See for example Arunachal Pradesh, which is the easternmost state of India, sees the first sunrise of the day. The world's largest river island is Majuli in Assam. It is utilized for solar power generation, and you can also witness a scenic sunset over the Brahmaputra river. Molenong in Shillong, Meghalaya is the cleanest village in Asia. Mawsynram in Meghalaya is the wettest place in the world due to constant high rainfall. Assam is famously known for its lush green tea gardens. Tripura and Mizoram, the two states of Northeast, feature in the list as the most literate states of India. Shillong in Meghalaya is considered the Scotland of the East because of its picturesque destination with scenic landscape. The good old rare one-horned great Indian rhino can be found only in this side of the country. There are over 222 languages spoken in the whole of Northeast, and it's laden with a huge mix of cultural diversity. The virtual absence of any political or cultural contact of the tribals in the Northeast with the political life of the rest of India was also a striking difference. The struggle for independence had little impact among the tribals of the Northeast. So, it was the first Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru who took the lead in bringing the tribals of these areas into the mainstream of the country, thus helping them to get connected with the country and the developments happening therein. In 1954, the Prime Minister formed the Northeast Frontier Agency, that is NEFA area, that is Arunachal Pradesh. Nehru tried to bring about development of the tribes of these areas by giving them opportunities of employment, education, health, etc. But also due care was taken to preserve their culture. So development was aimed without disturbing their culture. Now Indian Constitution has 12 schedules, and with respect to the sixth schedule, it grants considerable autonomy to the tribal communities such that the people from other parts of the country do not come and settle there, that is, can't buy any land. These are some of the restrictions imposed by the Indian government in order to protect the natives' privilege on the land. In 1965, the responsibility of administrating this area was given to the Ministry of External Affairs, that is, the Foreign Ministry. The North Eastern Council Act of 1971 was supposed to advise the central government regarding aspects of common interest in economic and social spheres, interstate transport, electricity, flood control, etc. Now, Brahmaputra floods due to significant monsoon rains in India. The worst hit area was the state of Assam and almost is every year. At times, massive flooding causes huge losses to crops, life and property. This year, floods in Assam have affected 36 lakh people across 26 districts. Sadly, this news doesn't get much media coverage. So the government had to work for such issues like flood control, providing electricity, or say train services in the interior of the states and many more. So let us now see in detail about the issues faced by the states and how government had made efforts to resolve them. First, let's start with Mizoram. The Mizo majority areas of the Lushai Hills were given the autonomy, that is, power to make decisions for themselves by the Indian government. Now, when India gained independence in 1947, that is after the Britishers left us, India was divided into three parts. That is, India, the part under British control, Pakistan, and the princely states. These princely states were given the authority to decide if they wanted to join India or Pakistan. But it was Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, the first Deputy Prime Minister of India, who convinced the rulers of the various princely states to accede to India. India has a great diversity in language, culture, caste, etc. So in order to reorganize the states accordingly, the State Reorganization Commission was appointed in 1954. Mizo leaders started demanding for autonomous Mizo province, that is, the people of Mizo tribe can inhabit this place. In 1959, Mizo Hills was devastated by a great famine known in Mizo history. The cause of the famine was due to the flowering of bamboos. That is, when a bamboo flowers, it is in danger of dying. This resulted in boom in the rat population. It caused mass destruction of food stores and crops. A number of people died in starvation. During this famine, Mizo leader Lal Denga helped people in transporting rice and other essential commodities to interior villages. After recovery from the disaster, a new political organization, the Mizo National Front, that is, MNF, was established in 1961. Lal Denga demanded for an independent country for the area of Mizo majority, that is, Greater Mizoram. In 1966, MNF, that is, Mizo National Front, resorted to armed insurrection, that is, an uprising against the government, attacking the government installations at several places. In retaliation, the government of India bombed the city of Aizawl in Mizoram with Tufani and Hunter jet fighters. It was the first time in India used its air force to quell a movement of any kind among its citizens. The Mizo District Council delegation met Prime Minister Indira Gandhi in 1972 and demanded a full-fledged statehood for Mizoram. The government offered to convert the Mizo Hills into a union territory in 1972. Elections of Rajiv Gandhi to the office of Prime Minister of India in 1984 incited the beginning of a new era in Indian politics. In 1985, the Prime Minister, Mr. Rajiv Gandhi, had an agreement with the Mizo National Front and Mizoram was given the status of a full-fledged state, and Lal Denga became the first Chief Minister of the state. So students, in this session we have learnt about the cause of unrest in Punjab and how Operation Blue Star and Operation Black Thunder, initiated by the Indian Army, contributed greatly to bring peace and stability in Punjab. We have also begun with Northeast India and have discussed about Mizoram in detail. Now students, read this part of your text so that you understand the lesson well. We will continue with the lesson in the next part. Thank you.